Welcome back, Chem 107. We're going to finish up Chapter 9. This is the second video and last video for this chapter. Let's start out talking about proteins. So proteins are large biomolecules called macromolecules, consisting of one or more long chains of amino acid residues. Proteins perform a vast array of functions within organisms, including catalyzing metabolic reactions, DNA replication, responding to stimuli, providing structure to cells and organisms, and transporting molecules from one location to another. The protein represented there on the left is myoglobin, which stores oxygen in muscle cells. Now, proteins are so big we don't use carbon line drawings to represent them. Instead, we use these rounded spiral ribbons to represent the amino acid chains. So a picture like that is a protein. Purpose of protein. In animals, proteins are needed in the diet to provide the essential amino acids that cannot be synthesized by the body. Digestion breaks down the proteins for use in metabolism. Proteins are polymer chains made of amino acids linked together by peptide bonds. During human digestion, proteins are broken down in the stomach to smaller polypeptide chains, which is crucial for the absorption of the essential amino acids that cannot be biosynthesized in the body. Sources of proteins. So dietary sources of protein include both animal and plant products, so meats, dairy products, fish and eggs, as well as grains, legumes, and nuts. So vegans, they don't eat any animal products. Can they get enough essential amino acids by eating plants? Yes, they can. So vegans do get enough amino acids and proteins just by eating plants. Some of their sources include legumes, nuts, seeds, and fruits. Legumes have a very high concentration of amino acids and are a more complete source of protein than something like whole grains or cereals. Examples of vegetarian foods with proteins concentrated greater than 7% include soybeans, lentils, kidney beans, white beans, mung beans, chickpeas, which are garbanzo beans, cowpeas, lima beans, pigeon peas, lupines, winged beans, almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, pecans, walnuts, cottonseeds, pumpkin, hemp, sesame, and sunflower seeds are all vegetarian foods that have great protein concentrations. All right, let's talk about vitamins. A vitamin is an organic molecule, which means it contains carbon. That is an essential micronutrient that an organism needs in small quantities for the proper functioning of metabolism. So if you look at that picture over there, that's a vitamin. It's vitamin C, and we can represent it by a carbon line drawing. Remember, at the end of every line or at every point, there's a carbon atom. Essential nutrients cannot be synthesized in the organism and therefore have to be obtained through the diet. So vitamin C, pictured to the left, can be synthesized by some species, but not by others. It's not a vitamin in the first instance, but it is in the second. So again, remember, a vitamin is something that cannot be synthesized naturally by the organism. It's something you have to eat. The term vitamin does not include the three other groups of essential nutrients: minerals, essential fatty acids, and essential amino acids. So those are all essential nutrients as well as vitamins. The 13 vitamins required by human metabolism are vitamin A, vitamin B1, thiamine, vitamin B2, riboflavin, vitamin B3, niacin, vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, vitamin B6, pyridoxine, vitamin B7, biotin, vitamin B9, folic acid or folate, vitamin B12, cobalamins, vitamin C, ascorbic acid, vitamin D, calciferols, vitamin E, tocopherols and tocotrienols, and vitamin K, quinones. So those are the 13 vitamins that we can't produce ourselves, so we need to get them through our diet. Are vitamins necessary? Well, yes, they are. Do we need to take supplements for them? Well, in those who are otherwise healthy, there's actually little scientific evidence that supplemental vitamins have any benefits with respect to cancer or heart disease. Vitamin A and E supplements not only provide no health benefits for generally healthy individuals, they may actually increase mortality. Although the two big studies that supported this conclusion did include smokers, and we know that beta carotene supplements can be harmful for them. In 2018, there was analysis that found no evidence that intake of vitamin D or calcium for community-dwelling elderly people reduced bone fractures. So again, there was no evidence that taking calcium helped the elderly with their bones. So again, if you're in general good health, you probably don't need supplemental vitamins. In the United States, a dietary supplement is defined under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. There's no FDA approval process for these supplements, so that's a little scary. There's no requirement that manufacturers prove safer efficacy of the supplements. So they can basically say anything they want to about these supplements, and they could be lying. So be careful about these vitamins. Causes of hunger. The world produces enough food to feed everyone. That's not the problem. Okay, the world does have the capability to feed everyone. For the world as a whole, per capita caloric availability and food diversity, the variety of food groups in a diet, have actually increased between the 1960s and 2011. A principal problem is that many people in the world still do not have sufficient income, money, to purchase or land to grow enough food or access to nutritious food. Poverty causes hunger. So poverty is the principal cause of hunger. The causes of poverty include lack of resources, unequal income distribution in the world and within specific countries, conflict, and hunger itself. As of 2013, when the most recent comprehensive data on global poverty was collected, about 767 million people are living below the international poverty line of less than $1.90 per day per person. Can you imagine only getting $1.90 per person per day? We couldn't live off of that, right? We'd go hungry, and they do. This was a decrease of about 1 billion people below the poverty line from 1990. So we're doing a little better, but not good enough. However, although the number of people living in extreme poverty globally has been declining, in lower middle income regions, such as the sub-Saharan Africa, the number is actually growing. So overall, globally, we're doing better. Some places, however, are getting worse, but overall, we're getting better. So poverty is the number one cause of hunger. Hunger causes hunger. So that sounds a little weird. But hunger is a cause of poverty, and thus of hunger, it's a cyclical relationship. By causing poor health and small body size, you have low levels of energy and reductions in mental functioning. So hunger then can lead to an even greater poverty problem by reducing your ability to work and learn. So that leads to even greater hunger. So hunger is cyclical and causes more hunger. Conflict causes hunger. More than half, 489 million, of the 815 million hungry people in the world live in countries affected by conflicts, like wars, violence, stuff like that. Ranging from non-state to state-based violence to one-sided violence, some of these countries that result in internal or international displacement have occurred in Syria, Yemen, Somalia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Myanmar, among many other countries throughout the world. In addition, most of the 19 countries listed by the FAO as countries in complex, prolonged conflict are located in Africa. Political instability causes hunger. In countries facing political instability, the resulting decline of the economy reduces the value of the country's currency. So that leads to higher food prices and less nutritious food available for purchase. The loss of jobs in a declining economy also impacts people's ability to afford food, as income declines as well. Countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Yemen, Venezuela are examples of countries in which political instability is affecting food security. And finally, food and ag policies affect hunger. A lack of adoption of productive technologies for agriculture in low and middle income countries contributes to a large difference in the number of crops they can produce when compared with upper income countries. Within regions, the gap between potential crop yield and actual crop yield can be as large as 76%, as seen as the sub-Saharan Africa. Agricultural practices. Past agricultural practices implemented to increase crop yield have unintended consequences in the form of land and soil degradation and using up or polluting the available groundwater. This then affects the future ability for food production, and these resources have been permanently depleted. However, more countries are beginning to adopt conservation agriculture, where various strategies are used to prevent the rapid depletion of scarce natural resources. This includes things like crop rotating, so the soil doesn't have the same food in it over and over and over again, so different nutrients get pulled out, so you rotate your crops. Or you even let one area rest a season and don't do any crops on it at all. So these are conservation agricultural practices. Climate change is another cause of hunger. Throughout the previous 30 years, natural disasters have become more common. We've learned about that. Climate change causes more extreme weather events. These unstable weather patterns can lead to drought. In 2016, El Nino was responsible for conditions of severe food insecurity for 20 million people. On the other extreme, besides drought, we can have hurricanes and cyclone seasons with all the wet and the rain produce more powerful storms. This causes damage to livelihoods, agricultural production, local market prices in countries in the Caribbean and Asia. In agriculture-driven areas, especially parts of Africa, Somalia, southeastern Ethiopia, and countries in West Africa, drought has driven economic food production and political stability to crises. For countries facing prolonged conditions or yearly disasters, undernutrition worsens and there's little time for recovery. So climate change also causes hunger because of these extreme weather events. Climate change also affects diseases. The ecological impact of climate change can affect the emergence or reemergence of diseases on a larger scale, especially those carried by vectors like mosquitoes and fleas that thrive in warm, humid environments. Disease caused by these vectors can prolong the cycle of malnutrition. All right, so I think that wraps up our chapter on world hunger and nutrition. So remember to take your Canvas quiz. One more chapter to go, chapter 10. Thanks, GCC. Have a great day.